Hey everybody, welcome to Everybody Can Have One More Cat with Steven Meserve, because no one will ever notice. Hey everybody, so we are here again with Everybody Can Have One More Cat with Steven Meserve, because no one will ever notice. I am super excited to have my friend Karen, who is heading up a massive project, I guess at this point, for PDX Cattrapper out in Portland, Oregon. So hi Karen, it's really nice to see you. I mean, I haven't seen you for over a year, I guess.
No, about a year. Yeah. Hi, Stephen. I'm so excited to be on. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited. So, as you guys know that are listening, or hopefully you're listening, that we are really going to try to get in touch with people that are making an impact in the cat world. Maybe people that don't necessarily. Well, but you have a good amount of visibility now, right? I mean, you're getting there. You're
Yeah,
getting.
we're growing. We're growing. Yeah, we're trying. Our goal was to kind of like raise our profile, and just with that, then you can have more impact, and you can get more volunteers, and you can also help more people because then they start to hear about you, right? Because that's really what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. So let's strip this back for a minute and go back to the beginning. So I mean, I say all the time, everyone always knows, like I wasn't a cat person to begin with, right? I literally wasn't. Didn't grow up with cats. I didn't know cats, And this is always a kind of a good segue for me to explain, I guess, for every time, until you meet that cat, the one that kind of changes your life, the one that really you are connected with, makes you become more of a cat person. So was there a time in your life that how did it start? Like from a young age, like how did you become where you are now? Like
We never had cats. My dad didn't really like cats. I think he brought home a kitten one time, and my mom didn't like the litter box, and they expected it to go outside, and it like disappeared. So I mean, like, not a good cat story, not a good, so we never. That was the only cat we had, and I mean, I think like my grandma had an outside cat, and
funny. I think from when me growing up, and I think we're similar age. Like it just was like I just remember the cats like my grandmother and my aunt had, and I was like they were just not. Well, not to say that they were bad cats. It just there was nothing about them that was interesting. Like, and I just had no connection to them at all.
My grandma had a really sweet cat, and it was this really pretty long-haired calico, and then some neighborhood dog. They lived on a farm, and then some neighborhood dogs, some big dogs came over and cornered it on the woodpile and ripped it apart, and like that was the only cat that really I, can remember.
It obviously scarred you because you remember it pretty vivid.
I wasn't there. I just heard about it. We were, but then you go up there and there's no cat anymore, right? And so we always looked, when we would go visit, we always looked forward to seeing the cat. So I really didn't have much experience, but I was notorious for bringing home strays, and then my parents would just take them to the pound, right? Because, you're thinking, this was a long time ago, of course, and so, animal sheltering's come so far since then. It was just horrific. And, but so, you took the stray to the pound, and then if people claimed it, it was theirs, and, maybe not, but we lived right by a school, and so everyone in the 70s and 80s would just dump off cats at the school, right, and hope they found a new home. And so sometimes we would, like on the weekends, sometimes there were 3 cats one weekend, different cats that showed up in our garage or our driveway or our yard. So, but no, never a good experience until I moved out, and then I didn't want a dog because sometimes I would be working long hours or not home, and so cats were a lot easier, and so then I started getting cats.
So you started getting cats, like, and then I mean, so. Like you got 1 cat, then 2, then 3, because you know what I mean. Like
No, I would have 1 cat. I would get a 1 cat. Usually, like my relatives, they were hoping somebody would get rid of the cat before they got back from their trip, and I was like, I'll take your cat. So then I would only have 1 cat, and then someone's like, oh my God, I found this set of kittens, and I'm like, I'll take one, but I never had more than 2 at a time. So until more recently, right?
So how did you come to be who you are now? Like, what was the catalyst that got you to start this mission, I suppose,
So as life happens, right, and like marriage, not marriage, whatever, I ended up with my kids kind of growing and becoming like tweens and teens, and they didn't really want to do anything with me anymore. And it was like, well, I need a hobby. And I read this editorial of this woman talking about rescue, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. What is that? Yeah, I can do that. And so it literally, I almost like stumbled on it. Like I've always like, and then when I came an adult and I like had money and not like a lot of money, but like I could live, right? And so you'd find
money. Yeah.
right, you'd find a stray and you'd get it all vetted and fixed, and then you'd like try to find a home for it, right? And then I'd find another stray, and so that had always been happening over the last 25, 30 years. So, but then I like read this editorial and I'm like, oh, I can do that, and so then I reached out and she started bringing me kittens and kittens and kittens and kittens, and
Like foster situation, like a foster
kind of,
situation.
but I was like a temporary place, so she would bring them to me and they were like really dirty, and I would like clean them up and hold them for a couple days, and then she would send them off into like a rescue group or something like that. And
You were
then like
man,
yeah,
the
it was
fixer.
it was like but it was like a revolving door, and it was like a lot, like they were gone and then there were another ones, and then like literally it was so fast. And it was like, I don't, and fast for me who hadn't done this, right? So I think it was like 30 something cats in like 21 days or something. And then I got a set with ringworm, and I didn't even know what it looked like, right? Because I thought it was a round, and it was actually on their paws and their faces. And so then she's like, oh, you can't do this for a while. But I was thinking, like, where are these kittens coming from? There's got to be, like, how do you got to stop this.
Like stop the source. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm like, wait a minute, what this isn't like a sustainable practice. So then, and she was trapping the adults for TNR. So I'm like, I want to learn how to do that. I want to do that. And so then I just started learning about it and finding out about it, and and then started to try to get more involved with that. Helped found like a kind of a rescue group that like really went sideways really quickly. So just, I kind of thought that if you put a bunch of people together that want to save cats, everything should work out just fine. Like, no idea of all the different, whether it's everything needs to be saved, or I want to tame adult feral cats, or it's fine to have 40 cats in your house. Kind of like, I didn't realize that there were all these different things that are kind of like deal breakers to me, and it was like, oh, so that group didn't, I left that group pretty quickly and just try to pretend that didn't exist. But I really networked in the whole community, and so then I started doing more like TNR on my own, which is trap, neuter, return, trap the feral cats, neuter, spay them, vaccinate them, and return them back to their home colony. But we also try to do it. Some people think that like the TNR part, then that saves their lives and everything's wonderful, but there's so much more to it than that. It's not just fixing the cats and putting them back out there. It's about following up with who's feeding them and making sure that they have enough food, making sure that they have shelter, making sure that you're doing follow-on vet care, making sure that you're trying to, see if there's any friendly strays or lost pets that have joined this colony, getting the kittens out of that colony so that you can kind of stabilize the population, and then work with the caregivers to make sure that if there's new cats coming in, that you get those right away before you start growing again. There's a lot to it. So
yeah, I think when people think like of TNR, it's like, oh, we're just gonna, grab them, cut their ear, neuter them and send them back. But there's got to be follow up, right? That's a really good point, because what happens, what's next?
Yeah, you are not doing cats any favors if you just fix them and dump them back out there, and maybe there's no food there. Maybe the caregiver down the street died, and that's why these cats are wandering and everyone else is seeing them. Like, you need to find out, the whole thing and take care of it. Like, there's many times we go out to re-trap an injured cat, re-trap a really sick cat, or just, if they're really sick, sometimes you can just pick them up, and get them to the vet. It doesn't mean an automatic euthanasia, check them for diseases if they're looking like, are they, and I know there's a huge argument on the FIV, FELV, should you test every cat, and I don't necessarily want to get into that argument,
Let's keep it light,
Yeah, but when you start having cats that are sick and showing symptoms and suffering, and that's where it's important to have a caregiver say, hey, Karen, one of the cats you fixed 2 years ago is having some problems, can you come out and take a look? And it's like, yeah, or send me video, like, ooh, yeah, we need to get that cat, it usually means there's a lot of other stuff going wrong by the time someone is seeing the symptoms, and
but
it's a lot of follow-up care,
So basically, for people that are listening, you have a whole network of people that are working with you, and you're primarily working in the greater Portland area, Portland, Oregon, right?
Yes.
In the which the temperature is quite the same, right? So you have kitten season quite more often than you would say in Boston, I would think, right? Is it a little, or are you seeing a season there?
Yes, I would say because East Coast, you guys get they get really cold, snowy winters, right? So, but one thing we're seeing is we're seeing warmer temperatures. So
Right.
So our break in the winter that used to be from October to maybe April, maybe early May, is now December to February. We're getting hit on both ends. We have kittens out there right now. We have cats in heat everywhere because it's been so much warmer and drier. And then what happens is our winter seems to come a little bit later. Our ice and our cold weather comes in February, March, and we have kittens being born in that. And, the survival rate is poor, the sickness is high,
So is most of the community is it feral cats for the most part that are unadoptable, or are there ones that are trapped and you are adopting out, or returning all, or it depends? How does that work?
It totally depends.
Yeah.
So, I guess a lot of people think of feral as want to rip off your face, and we we use the word semi-feral a lot, or community cat.
You have a lot of things that you use that I use now: trap, neuter, return, as opposed to trap, neuter, release, which I think makes more sense, right?
Well, release used to mean release in your area, release where you got it, but then you had some people...
Go back to where they are, where they came from, right?
Yes, so then you had some people that say, oh, well, release, I could release them over here, I could release them over there, I could release them down, and it's just so that's where they started using the term return.
You taught me that.
Yeah, so so it's kind of tricky, in let's say mobile home communities, or really tight knit areas. Some of those cats may not really be adoptable, but they're familiar with people. They're not afraid of people so much, but you can't really pick them up. They'll stay 10 feet away from you. They wait for food. You know what I mean? They maybe wait on your porch till you come out. So, but it doesn't mean that they're adoptable. You know what I mean? Sometimes they can be, but a lot of times they can't. Really, the best thing to do for those is to just stabilize the population there and help support the caregiver, because we all know there are enough adoptable cats that can't get adopted. There's no room in the shelters, or they're being euthanized at so
these cats are stable. These cats are stable outside. They're to a point of thriving as long as they're being looked after.
Exactly.
It's clogging up the shelters of adoptable cats.
Yeah, and the key is really supporting those cats where they're at, right? Helping support. This is a community problem. These are community cats. They're not technically owned by anyone, but owned by everyone, right? And so it's important to support that community, support those people with food, with shelters, with extra food dishes if they don't have them, or something for a large tub of water, things like that. And
How do you come across, like, is it just word of mouth where like you're like, hey, by the way, guys, there's a big feral community living here somewhere? Does someone just say to you guys, or what? Or
You
do you?
know, yeah, so we have a website where people can go in and put in like help requests, say, hey, I have a large group of cats in my mobile home park or in my apartment or, under my house.
They love mobile home parks. I hear it all the time. It's
You
like
know,
people.
they do, and there's so many reasons why, right? You have the skirting underneath the home that there's always cracks or holes, so it's perfect for cats to hide in. And especially on the backside, like if you don't have a back door, if they only have like they may not even see them, and not even know they're there, right? And so there's always food, there's always people putting out food, and so then, they may not even know they're like, I don't feed them, I don't know where they're eating, and it's like they're eating 5 houses down that way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are popular places.
So you got a website. You get a, and then what? You send your army out, or what? Like how many?
Oh, so yeah,
You know,
so yes. So, yeah, people put in like a help request of like what the situation is, and it's like it goes into a Google form, and then that goes into a spreadsheet, and we have a couple volunteers that monitor all of those emails and then send out further information if like something needs to be clarified or like, someone will say, I can't keep my 5 cats anymore. It's like we don't really take tame cats, so it's like here's some, shelter contacts for you to contact and try to reach out to get them surrendered into a shelter. Here's some low-cost veterinary help. But then we're like, oh, okay, this person has like 40 cats, where is this? And it's like, oh, wait, there's a colony really close by. So, so we kind of we know where a lot of the colonies are around town. And then also any ones that we don't know, or we're like, hey, we have other people that we know who have done TNR for say 25 years, and I'll call them and say, hey, what do you know about over here, this neighborhood? They say, and they're like, oh yeah, we helped Jane out there with like 50 cats like 10 years ago. So I think we have a good pulse on what's happening in the community.
Dr. LC strives to put heart, soul, and science into all their products, with a variety of premium cat litters and protein-packed foods that address the health and behavioral needs of cats in every stage of life. Dr. LC's is dedicated to solving the complex needs of pet owners with veterinarian formulated solutions. The brand always puts the cat's well-being first, with a singular goal of enhancing the lives of cats and their parents. Is it, do you have a good amount of people that are involved in this cause for you at PDX Cat Trapper? Like, is there like a
Yeah,
lot?
we have a pretty good number of volunteers. We have a lot of people. Like we've had some people. Yeah, we coordinate everything in like Google Chats on Google. So we'll have like the trap chat or the foster chat or the admin chat or like if we're doing a big event, like we've done like our event planning, or like if we've done like a big homeless encampment along the river, we'll have like a separate chat for that for people who want to be involved. And
This is all in addition to your normal job, yeah? Like,
yes, we all have full-time jobs during the day. I'm here right now at my office, so
it's a
you
real
know,
job, right? So this is
right,
just
right, yeah,
it's a passion project, and like a lot of this stems from education. It's all about education and visibility, right? I mean, like I don't think I'm like what we've done at Loving Cats Worldwide. I mean, we've uncovered a lot of people that never knew this world existed, which is in return, helping you, getting people to involved. I hope we're getting people involved in what you're doing as well. But it's like when I went to Turkey this year, Cat Central. I went to Istanbul, right? Like that's the culture that needs to be everywhere. Like these are not anybody's, well, maybe they are, but they're not anybody's cats, they're everybody's cats. You know what I mean? And there are people that head up projects like you and do the trap, neuter, and release and stuff, trap, neuter, return. But pretty much if there's a cat there, they're getting fed by someone in the neighborhood, and there's always a return. It's such an amazing infrastructure, but it's cultural, and it's a cultural thing that
it
started.
is, it is, and I took this community cat management program through Community Cats podcast and United Spay Alliance in the fall. And one of the data points they put out there was it's about 10% of the American population is feeding cats, feeds outside cats. And it was just like, holy cow, and it might just be that one cat. And another data point, which is really fascinating, is 80% of all cats that come into households or that are adopted are not adopted through the shelter system or a rescue. They're brought home, they show up as strays. They're brought home by friends of family, co-workers,
That's a really good point that I didn't know. Because if you think about it, like it is, well, I've got 7 rescues in my house, and I didn't go to a shelter. They found me. You know what I mean? And that's how it goes. Here in Portugal, I think we've talked about this before. Like I had a really bad problem here when I first moved here 5 years ago. And I was like, did I just buy a house in the middle of like a feral colony? Like this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. This is Mediterranean Europe, so there's kitten season all year long. So we did a good job. I started I was like, I don't understand why I'm having kittens every spring and summer, and they were coming to me like on death's door. Like they come out to you when there's no other option for them. And they were coming like. She went, Lady Bunny's around somewhere, but she came to me like covered in disease and fleas and ear mites and like literally vampires sucked blood. Like she was being bled, and they can't, and I'm like, this has got to stop. Like this is crazy to me. And so we did meet the people that there's a lady here, a really sweet lady named Dina, and she takes care of the colony around me with our help now, but she didn't know. Like I was like, so we need to find the male, yeah. Like, and she's like, yeah, I know who he is. I'm like, well let's get him, like, and I know genetics, cat genetics. I know these kittens are from that male, yeah.
Yes.
So let's find him. And she was like, but if we neuter him, then he's going to be in danger. I'm like, no, it's like the complete opposite. Like it's so he's going to live a nice life. He's going to have his tail. He's not going to have broken bones. He's not going to get into fights. Like I literally was like trying to convince her like why this was important. And like I moved here in 2020. It's now 2025. Kittens, 2020, 2021, 2022, 23, 24, nothing. No nice. Kitten. Everything's here. She is here. We help her out. I mean, we probably went from 100 cats in this neighborhood into like this probably maybe, I only see one floating around now. Maybe they're around somewhere else, but in my neighborhood, like they're all been either, and I took at least 20 to London, and you know what I mean, over the course of those 5 years to be adopted to people in the UK, which was really, really cool. It's a nice story, right? Like living a pop life in London. But yeah, it's just about, they care a lot, and they're here feeding the cats, and she's still here like clockwork. Every five probably here now, 5 or 6 o'clock every year she's here. So she's taking care of the community. But it just took me just to explain to her why. You know what I mean? And I think that first point that you made about the rescues, it's like it shouldn't be a revolving door, right? It's going to be, it's inevitable. But to get to the root of the cause of the problem is paramount. Yeah.
You really have to. It's all about like cutting it off at the source, right? It's all about stabilizing through sterilization. That's like one of the things we always say. It's like you stabilize the colony through sterilizing the cats, and then people are like, well, I just want them gone. I just want them gone. It's always been a problem. And that's, a lot of people, that's where they start. They're like, I don't want them to come back. I don't want the R part, don't bring them back. And it's like, we try to explain that, once you get everyone fixed, once you start fixing the cats, everything settles down. You don't have the fighting. You don't have the spraying. You don't have all of those.
Smell, yeah,
you don't have all those behaviors because that's what everyone really has a problem with. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily the cats. It's all the stuff that comes with it. And once you start stabilizing that, everything settles down. Some of the cats go back home, because there's nothing to do here. There's no breeding going on. Some of those males go back home.
Took all the fun stuff away from me. You know what I mean?
Or they get lazy and they're just hanging out. Also, one thing we find is that as a bunch of them get maybe friendlier, people bring them inside and like take ownership of them. And that's a really...
That's the dream, right? That's the dream, or at least get them close enough, inside in their porch or whatever. Which is which is really cool. So it's really, we hear a lot of, I hear a lot about trap, neuter, and return all over but it's really good to get a really up close and personal view. I do want to talk about, your association with me and Loving Cats Worldwide, and you kind of didn't know that this world existed, right? Like you came second time around, right? Is that right? Were you did you
So
show?
I knew that the world existed, but I did not have a good opinion of it at all. And
This is
so,
exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I want to get at, because the organized breeding world of cats and dogs has existed 150 years, right? No one has done anything to bridge the gap between the two worlds. It's been so, like, I'm either on this side or I'm on this side. There has been no in between, and part of my mission and passion with Loving Cats Worldwide was really all about the cats in general. Who am I to say to a person, like, if you want a Maine Coon because you like the aesthetic of a Maine Coon and the size and the regalness of it, okay, but let me teach you, making sure that you are asking the right questions and going to the right people and making sure that you're aware of the red flags that could come up, right? But then we all can do our part, you know what I mean, to decrease the overwhelming rescue situation. So you are a dream for me because, not that you were like an adamant staunch against it, but once you came and you experienced what we do, you were like, okay, wait a second. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying, I'm an anomaly for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, but most organized cat associations do help with the rescue situations, but they're not celebrated like we celebrate. You know what I mean? And you've seen the class that I do where we have moggies. I think in Portland, my best cat in my class that I call the very important cat class was a domestic short hair, like a domestic calico, and we put the cats, I think every cat deserves to be loved and gushed over, whether you're a white Persian, or you're just a black moggy from the street, and that's where the world has to change. And I'll get off my soapbox in a minute, but if the world of the cat organized breeders and stuff has any chance of sustaining, this is the way forward. You need to balance the both sides. And I'm really happy that we were able to, well, you explain. So you walked in and did what? I mean, you were there the first show.
Yeah, so there was another cat show right around the same time, and it was one of
at the Holiday Inn, maybe, yeah?
I think so, or maybe in Vancouver or something, so at first I was kind of thinking they were the same, and I'm like, well, because someone said, oh, we should do the cat show, and I'm like, why would we do a cat show? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, we're rescuing cats, they're breeding cats. I don't know how I feel about like that. Like, I didn't even want to entertain it. And then someone's like, oh, but a bunch of the volunteers were jumping on and going, oh, that would be really cool. And I'm thinking, all right, am I just really jaded? Like, okay, open your mind a little bit. And then I reached out to Nancy at Feral Care, the sanctuary up in Bothell outside of Seattle, who has an amazing sanctuary for feral cats, semi-feral, unadoptable, older, shy, whatever. And she's got this amazing setup. And so I reached out to her and I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, oh, you definitely need to do it. It's not what you think. And she explained, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. And just really, really thrilled to see how your setup of the rescues and the breeders, because we had a fantastic time. We learned so much about cats, just about like the body structures for different types of breeds and why, and like how that came about. And that was just like super fascinating, and some of their traits. Because one of the things is, we don't do adoptions, but we try to do really good analysis of like our personality profiles so that when the kittens move along into other rescues or shelters to get adopted, we have that. So it was kind of neat to understand how some of that might play into the types of cats to get them in a home that's a good match, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was completely fascinating, so enlightening, and you just like sold me on it, and it was, yeah, you sold the whole team on it. Like we're excited.
It's so amazing to hear because we hear, now that we're getting the visibility is huge, right? I mean, my visibility is now like, I mean, it's, you have to live, if you like cats, you live under a rock if you don't know who I am at this point. You know what I
Right?
mean? I'm everywhere, which is great. I never knew that was going to happen so quickly, but it did. So, you know, so it's really exciting because we reach out to every rescue group that we can get a hold of, at every single event we do. And 9 times out of 10, honestly, they don't even return our calls, or they won't return our emails. And I also, maybe some are not as organized as you are, some are smaller, mom and pop kind of situation. And but it honestly either comes down to two reasons why they can't come. Number one, they're like, no way. They're very staunch adopt, don't shop, right? Or they're just not staffed. They just don't have the staff or the time to pull away from what they're doing, you know what I mean, to get to an event. That's the two big reasons. But we're getting less and less people saying, no, it's not for us. Like right now for Philadelphia in 3 weeks time, like I'm full, maximum capacity. I think we have 25 rescue groups there. I mean, and that's, if as a business person, those people are coming for a near free. I mean, and that's a lot of space, you know what I mean, for these people that sounds terrible, for these groups to increase their visibility. But when we started in Philly, 3 years ago, I couldn't get one group there. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't get one, but then the next year we got more, and the next year we got more. So something's working, you know what I mean? And that's the key. So I really hope that we continue to bridge that gap, but and really celebrate the cat, because that's really what it's all about. But if you want to have a Maine Coon, let me teach you how to do it. We had a one of the other episodes just yesterday was with these Bengal breeders from California. Very ethical, very, very organized, very, and they're to get a kitten from them is like really hard. They match properly. There's site visits. There's, the people that are breeding properly and doing it for health and for the benefit of the breed are not the people that are ending up in rescue situations. You know what I mean?
And that is a big, I think a lot of people think that's all the same, breeders, they're the ones that, they're 50 cats and filth, and it's like, that's
the ones that get PR. That's the one that gets the press, right?
Yeah. And then everyone else has to pick up the pieces, right? And so then it's like, great, I have all these cats that have all these health problems, or they were like half had to be euthanized and da 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 da. It's just, and so then people just automatically assume everyone's like that, and so that's a problem.
No one gets the good press, from the good people that are doing, We did a couple other things, with Loving Cats World as far as our judges go. Like historically, to be a judge in an organized cat association, you need to have bred cats for a certain amount of time, and we took that out. Like we took that completely out, because why would I mandate someone to breed cats if they don't want to breed cats? But what if they love cats enough that they have a good eye and they can judge? Like that doesn't seem to make sense in this day and age, right? And the lady, Katie, who I just talked to today earlier, she does a lot of rescue work in Virginia Beach, but she took a cat from a Maine Coon rescue, but she went in there and the cat was really, really ill. But by her adopting that cat out and getting to the root of the cause, they had the whole entire place was rated with 150 Maine Coons or something. Do you know what I mean? But it's these people that are causing the problem, right? And we don't hear about how amazing John and Robin Patterson's house is, and how you know what I mean, and how well cared for their cats are. And a 5% of the cat population overall, ish, is pedigree cats. The rest is non-pedigree.
Yeah, and I think actually the vast majority of kittens are born outside nowadays, and so I mean, that may have changed after COVID. I know that was a data point fairly recently. I mean, now, with unaffordable, inaccessible, no low cost or not enough low cost vet care, we're seeing like the explosion in people's owned pets, right? Or they take in that stray and they're like, I didn't know she was pregnant. And then you're getting bad advice from veterinarians, oh, we can't spay her if she's pregnant, or don't spay her until she's 6 months old. By then you have a pregnant cat. You're like, oh my God, so you have all these unwanted litters, right? And so, and right now we're getting people reaching out to us that they have inside cats that had kittens that had gotten out, or they had taken a cat or whatever, and now they have like multiple litters and they can't even get rid of them for free. And they're like reaching out for help. And they're like, I don't know, I can't find anyone to take these. I have 4 litters in my house of different ages. And you're just like, so we're trying to like help facilitate some of that, but like that's bonkers to hear right now in January. Like it's just
January, like January. Not even really kitten season. That was kind of my point, right?
I mean, these were all born like before Christmas, but usually in December people scoop up Christmas kittens like crazy, So how in the world? How did you not, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm not blaming the person, right? They were trying to help and took in cats from people and thought that it was going to be easy. They recently moved here. They had no idea how difficult it is to access some of this care around the Portland metro area. And so she was just like, I'm shocked. I'm about ready to go back to my state where I came from and, unload these cats. And it's
to be honest, Portland has one of the highest costs of living in the country, right? I mean, it's pretty expensive there, yeah.
Well, Portland's having some, issues, but it's also, we've got some really great stuff going on, and hopefully we have some, our animal sheltering system is, with the counties, is an absolute disaster. Maybe I shouldn't say it like that. That might not be like, there's a lot of problems, and there's not enough accountability. And we have 2 counties that don't even deal with cats out of the Portland metro area. So you have ones like the sheriff's like, well, we can come out and shoot it for you, or just open the door and let it out and it'll be fine. And it's like, so then they call us and they're like, I don't know what to do, and some of them are really upset. And so it's like, but we don't get any county funding, and we're hoping there's been a shift in the county commissioner, in the people who are the county commissioners for one of our counties. And so hopefully we can start to get some more cat services there also, as the demographics are starting to change.
And what about this Oregon Humane Society that's literally right around the corner from the venue? Like they never call me, never talk to me, never get anything from me. Like never, sorry if I'm gonna call you out on it, but we've been trying to get you involved in. No, not even anything. Do you guys are working with them or what?
We work with them when we can.
They have their own wrapping program or no?
No. They don't want a community cat program. They don't want anything to really do with feral community cats. So, but they are a huge organization. They have a huge reach.
With a huge budget.
With a much larger budget than we do. But they have some specific agreements with the county shelter, and so there's certain things that they cannot do. Like they cannot take strays from Multnomah County, right? The main county of Portland. So all strays are required to go to the county shelter. And then good luck there, and so like if they make it out, there's been a lot of newspaper exposés and audits on the county shelter, so I'm not going to go into that. Anyone could look it up.
Episode 12. We'll come back to that later.
Right. But so to be fair, Oregon Humane Society's hands are kind of tied on some of that, and so that's really unfortunate. But Oregon, before COVID, they were adopting out like 11,000 animals a year, so it was a huge, huge. They have a huge impact.
We do. I mean, I'm learning a lot in the past 3 years. We've only been operating 2.5 years, right? So I'm learning a lot in the last few years about we do better with the smaller rescues, obviously, because there's a lot of red tape and a lot of things that need to be signed off on these bigger rescues. But we do a huge show in Dallas, and the SPCF Texas is full throttle there. I mean, they bring like 120 cats in. You know what I mean? And they take full advantage of the situation, you know?
The SPCAs and the ASPCAs, we don't have any here. I wish we did. Like I just from what I hear they're amazing on the East Coast. They're amazing in the South.
Boston is the same too. Yeah, the SPCA in Boston is really, really phenomenal. Like we get a lot of that, but then some don't have any interest. But but also where there's good cat breeders or dog breeders and bad dog breeders and bad, there are good rescues and there are not such good rescues, right? I mean, like there is a line there that, all rescues need to be supported, but there are some that with the intentions are not there, I'll just say it. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we have a lot of rescues in our area, and there's some that we work with, and there's others we don't know, and there's some that we definitely will not work with, and but that's where it's like, some people, there's been some rescue groups that all they do is they go and they scoop up kittens. I found a set of kittens under my house. Okay, well, come get them. And it's like nothing about fixing any of the adults, and they'll go back for years and years and years and take the kittens and take the kittens.
And it just becomes, and then they're getting $200-$300 a kitten, right? Or whatever.
Whatever their adoption fees are. But the thing is that then the people who live there are like fed up, and they're like, I want them gone. And it's like, well, and then also and people don't understand this part, and this is where it's really frustrating for us as trappers, as our trap teams go out, is when you have a mom cat that has had, let's say, 2 to 3 sets of kittens for 5 years, and people have taken them all the time, or the majority of them.
Her uterus, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, besides that, I mean, she hides them better. She brings them back when they're older, so now they're not adoptable, right? And they're not tame, and you've got 3 or 4 month old kittens running around that are feral because she hid them somewhere else. So now your population's growing, and if they're breeding too pretty quickly, then you're going to have some inbreeding going on. But then also, she's hard to trap. She's seen people take away her kittens. Now she doesn't like strangers. Now she doesn't, and makes it very difficult to trap these mom cats. And people don't understand. And so you've had this cat that's been breeding for 5 years or 8 years or 9 years, if they're still alive, and it's impossible to trap. It takes so much work to trap this one cat. And that's really frustrating. And so it's really too bad that more people don't understand. You can't just take the kittens. You have to you have to start trapping all those adults. We don't take kittens. We do not take kittens without fixing the rest of the cats. So it doesn't mean we're doing it all right.
That makes sense. I mean, when you say it out loud, you're like, but doesn't that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Why does it even need to be said? That's the craziest part of it,
that is the craziest part. And it's so funny because there's a rescue chat, so I forget.
Everyone Can Have One More Cat with Steven Meserve is brought to you by Roz, a family brand with a big heart. Roz is a pet nutrition brand that understands the importance of helping the furry friends we all consider family. Not only are they committed to providing pets with natural food options that are high meat and minimally processed, but they are also dedicated to giving back to those in need. By donating 100% of their profit through the Roz Fund, they've contributed over $3.7 million to pet-specific causes and those living with disabilities across the United States. Cooked in small batches, without the use of rendered meals, Roz Recipes ensures high-quality protein and nutrition in every bite. To shop their line of nutritionally complete offerings for cats and dogs, or find an authorized local retail partner near you, visit roznaturalpetfood.com. That's Roz, R-A-W-Z.
There was this rescue group page or something, and someone was talking about how they were just getting kittens all the time, and people were bringing them kittens, and they couldn't adopt everything fast enough, and they were full, and is everyone else experiencing this problem? And they were all upset, and people were chiming in and saying yes and all this stuff. And I chimed in and I said, what about if you start fixing the cats in the home? What about if you're an adoption group, what if you just fix one mom a week? or 2 moms a month, or 2 moms a week. What if you just start doing that? Like, and they deleted my comment, and then they deleted the
You're cutting off their supply, That's exactly
right. And it's like we don't even do adoptions. Like we fundraise for spay neuter and for medical care. That's what we do. And it's just like we don't do adoptions. And we get the kittens. We vaccinate them immediately. We get them health flea treat, deworm, vaccines, any other things they have going on. And then we move them out to a shelter, to a rescue.
Lucky that shelter. It's already all been done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all they have to do is fix them and maybe boost them, or but they're healthy. They already have a medical record. They've already been through quarantine. Like they're ready to. We're not making any money off this. Like this is a labor of love. This is because we don't like to just fix the kittens in TNR and put them back when we can get them out of there. I mean, sometimes when it's really busy and there's no space, or they're already like the borderline 3 to 4 months old, we will, but we really try to get them younger and get them diverted. But also a big part of that is because we have caregivers that are, say, 75 years old and in poor health.
For them, yeah. Right?
Or they're having a hard time feeding the 8 cats, and now they have 2 litters, and they don't want it to be 20 cats, and so a lot of it is it's like if we have 2 places and one is really struggling and the other place is fine, they can handle it, they're, you know what I mean? And it's like we have to choose between which kittens get diverted. We're pulling from this area. I just had a caregiver die this week, kidney failure, and we fixed, I think between him and his neighbor, we probably fixed like 60 something cats a few years ago, and he still had like 20 cats. And now I have to try to figure out what are we going to do with these cats? How many are adoptable?
Yeah. It's like does it? I mean, you have to be passionate about what you do. I mean, and that's obvious. Do you sleep or what? Like, or do you? I mean, I don't know. But like, it seems it must get really frustrating for you. You know what I mean? And you, because there's so much passion, but it's a revolving door, right? Do you see like any end in sight, or like what can we do? What's the end game here? Is there an end game? Do you know what I mean? Or is it just more groups like you taking this serious? Like, I don't know if that's the right word, or you know what I mean? Like, what's the end game? Is there an end game? Or it's just gonna be, it just goes on and on.
There's so many components to that. I do sleep. I don't sleep enough. Sometimes I catch up on the weekends and literally I'm sleeping, I'm napping, I'm sleeping again,
You do a lot of trapping at night, I'm assuming too, right? You do a lot at night? Do you do a lot?
It's really hard when I work until 5 and it's dark at 4:45. It's really, and then it's cold. Like the cats are done by 6:30 or 7, unless you're trapping like in a barn. So there's not much happening right now as far as the trapping part for me. But I've got like some trappers on the west side of town, and they have days off during the week, and so they are out there, early afternoon, late morning. And I just don't have that. I don't have that ability. So we're still getting it done. Let's see. There's so much to that. Like,
I mean, you need more groups taking an interest. I mean, but it is a revolving door. I think it all stems from education, right? It's education. It's education overall.
Yeah, so just since in the last few years, we've seen a big difference of people just scooping up kittens and ignoring the mom to actually an effort of getting the mom. So that's good. We've also seen a change. A lot of people think they don't need to fix the males, and then you get these blown abscesses, hanging skin, necrotic tissue. We usually have medical cats in the winter where it's like the tomcat finally comes home in October, right, from wandering for 6 months, and he's totally beat up and needs medical care, and he's treatable, and we get him treated, and then we're recovering him for a couple weeks. But this year we have not had as many of those. We've had straight up euthanasias. We have had cats with raging infections, already necrotic, completely into the bone. We've had We just had a euthanasia yesterday. The cat probably had been hit by a car or had an attack, and then also had been hit by a car recently. So something happened in like June, and something happened last week, and his whole back was degloved. It was the most gnarliest injury, and he had like his eye was shrinking, and all this, head was, just, a mess. And so we're getting a lot more like straight up euthanasias from lack of medical care, right? And so that's been really,
because medical care is expensive. Yeah, is getting more.
well, yeah, but I mean, but either people don't say anything, or they never get the cat fixed, right? Because he's a male, or they don't see a problem with not getting him fixed, and then they just think it's, oh, I just need antibiotics, and it's like, oh no, this is so much more than that. And we have vets that work with us, and we don't just go euthanize this cat. Like, we have him sedated and an exam and all this stuff so that they can give a good opinion, and then we can make a decision, right? And so that sets us apart also from a lot of other, local groups here. And let's see. So I think where it is the education, but it's also people think that, oh my God, I saw some cats. Can you fix them? And they don't call to make the appointments. They don't want to knock on anyone's doors to find out where they're coming from or who's feeding. Like, we all work. It's hard for us to go out and do the outreach. You live right there. Can you just knock on the door? I found this stray cat. I found this. I don't know where it belongs. You live in an apartment. Can you please knock on your neighbors? Well, I don't want to bother them. Please, please have some skin in the game. Please help us help you. We need to know more information, and then we can help. We totally don't mind. But, oh, I can't drive. I can't, I can't do this. And I mean, if they have medical issues, but if it's someone that just, well, I don't really feel like it. It's like, you live an hour away. How much, So I think people taking the initiative also when they see something to like help get involved and to do something would be huge.
Yeah, and I also think as the world changes, you know what I mean? We are a different world than we were 25 years ago or 50 years ago, where people are taking extreme care of their animals, right? I mean, they are. So I think we are getting a lot more people interested in the cause than we've ever had. So maybe the best answer to that question is time. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yes.
In that it's just time.
We have actually this last year, we had vet clinics reaching out to us going, how can I help you? How can I help you with your mission? What can we do to help you fix more cats? And even if it's only 1 or 2 cats a week, like, that's fantastic, and
1 or 2 more. That's what I really want people to understand. If we are reaching people from this and from whatever we're doing, everybody can make an impact.
Everybody can.
Everybody can make an impact. And it's a joke, right? Everyone can have more of a cat, but you can, usually. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, if you can't, you can make an impact. And you don't need to be super organized about it. Like, it really is not that difficult. Not say that what you're doing is not difficult by any means, but 1 cat on the side of the road. I mean, my 3 black cats here, like, one found in a puddle on the street. Like, you know what I mean? I just took it in, you know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, it won the jackpot, let's be honest, but like, it's everybody can make an impact, and that's the point, right?
Everybody can. Like, an interesting thing happened this week is, well, we had a couple of, what is today, Thursday? Okay, so sometimes my days just kind of bleed together, but we had an appointment on Tuesday and an appointment on Wednesday, and I think it was, or 2 appointments on Wednesday. Anyhow, 1 canceled last minute, and so it was 6 a.m, and we're trying to retool and find someone else, and we had somebody who was bringing down 1 cat for 1 clinic. And then we reached out to her, and she brought a 2nd cat down for a different vet clinic. And as we knew that she had all these kittens that we were moving into our care this weekend, but we didn't know that she had a bunch of other adult cats. And so now we've got a plan to fix all the adults, get all the kittens into a foster, and and it was just last minute scheduling. in the midst of everybody working, and so it's just, she reached out, or we reached out to her. We saw her advertising the kittens, and she was like, yes, but she's totally willing to drive. She's willing to do all the transport. She's willing to do what it takes, everything to help us help her. And so this is going to be a win-win-win all the way around, and like I tell people, if you see that house with all the cats and you don't never see anyone out there, right? Knock on the door, leave a note, leave a bag of food. How can you help? And then ask them, because you really need to go in with no judgment, right? Because a lot of these people maybe that are feeding a lot of cats, they feel judged. They maybe feel ashamed or embarrassed. They don't, they know that people are labeling them. And so they're really scared to reach out. So if you see that, like, reach out to them, stop and see, what can I do to help,
Amazing. It's amazing. The project is good to hear firsthand. I'm definitely going to have you back on as a guest when we start to grow, because I really want to help with whatever you are doing. If there's a couple things you can leave with me and for the people that are listening, of what they can do to help out. Obviously, we're going to tag you and try to get you as much visibility as possible, but if I guess, what's your closing arguments for what you're doing? Like what would we want to resonate with the people that are listening that want to be involved, that may think that they can't be,
You know what? I had somebody say a while ago that, like, well, people don't want to get involved in trapping because they can't do it the way you do, because you go out and trap like 10 cats or 20 cats or take 30 cats to clinic or whatever. And it's like, but you don't have to do it that way. Like, I mean, yes, that's because sometimes we have the capacity, and sometimes because, my kids have moved out now, so it's like, it's just me. And so you can make a difference, even just that one cat, that two cat, one cat at a time. There's people that have one trap, and they will trap one cat at a time, and they'll take them in and get them fixed. And like, that can make a huge difference. If, you don't have to be this, you don't have to have this huge production. You can just do it, fundraise for it, ask people for it, do a GoFundMe. I'm fixing cats in my neighborhood. Does anyone want to help? Can anyone help take the cat to clinic in the morning? We have a transport chat, so we have people, our volunteers go, I can pick it up, I can take it there, and then a key pad on the garage, and the cat's there when I get home, right? So I mean, like, we've worked out all kinds of things, so people don't have to go like make it a big production. They can just do it a little bit.
It's an amazing point. I just think people, generally people are good people, right? Like, for the most part, people want to do the right thing. And I think they think, getting involved in a rescue situation would mean like, oh, I have to have fosters. They don't realize, they know that like the little things, the vet offices, the vet visits, this makes so much sense that people, and every single thing makes an impact, and that's what it's all about. It takes, what's the phrase? It takes an army, or it takes a village.
It takes a village. And another thing is, like, people think, oh, to rescue, I need to come and I need to grab all these cats, and where am I going to put them? And I'm going to bring it. And it's like, you don't, a lot of times we go in and we assess, and you just put together a plan, but you support them there. You put food and litter boxes out or whatever. If it's like an inside house and no one lives there anymore, whatever, you try to, like, you can do that, and then do it in pieces, do it with the most vulnerable first. And there's, a checklist on which ones to prioritize, right? And you'll have different tracks for kittens or old ones or sick ones. You don't have to go in like a big, organization and do, you don't have to do it that way. There's a lot of different ways you can do it.
It's like, you have the impact to change the course of an animal's destiny, kind of. Everybody does, you know what I mean? Just the one. Everybody does. My 7 rescues that are here, damn well, they probably weren't gonna be alive if it wasn't for me. I did that. You know what I mean? And I think people needs to be celebrated. Everybody has the power to make an impact, no matter how small or not how big,
And I think one thing also with social media is people are so quick to criticize, right? They're so quick to criticize and judge and make their input known. And it's like, there's so few of us kind of doing the work, but there's a lot of people that maybe are trying and they just don't know, you know? And so instead of jumping all over them, how about like, you know, educating them or giving them
Keyboard warrior,
options.
yeah. Put instead of being a keyboard warrior and being so judgmental. I always said when I've been around the cat fancy since 25 years, you know, through social media's growth, and I was like, God, social media is going to be the death of this world. I'll tell you that much. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be the death of it. You know, because these people are brutal. Some of them are.
You know, and I mean, and there's also like, I'm just going to throw this out there, and I didn't really want to touch on the fires. That's a whole nother thing going on in LA, right? But I worked the fires in Paradise. I trapped out in Paradise in Northern California for the campfire, which was a huge undertaking. I went out to Lahaina in Maui and I worked out there. And so I don't think I'm going to be doing this one because there's a ton of rescuers down there. Pasadena Humane's really, you know, taken a big lead. And yeah, you know, so, and, you know, there's a lot of people down there that can do this. But microchips, if your animal is microchipped and it gets pulled into a shelter or rescue, it is like you are contacted like practically within
I don't
24,
know
40
why
hours.
the United States is so far behind in this. It's ludicrous. Like, it's illegal to have an animal here in Portugal or European Union or the United Kingdom to not have a microchip. It has to be tracked and it has to be registered with the government. Do you know what I mean? Every cat that's in my house is registered in the government system. Like, it's brilliant. Why can't this be mandated? Why are microchips optional? That makes no sense in the United States, you know?
You know, and so people say, oh, my cat's inside, it never goes outside, or my dog it never leaves my yard, or whatever. And it's like, well, but in a disaster, you know, all that's off the table. Like, you know, if your cat will escape, the windows will blow out and it will escape, and
Yep.
it's not microchipped, you know? Like, that was one thing that, like, if it was microchipped, the person was contacted. And so that's one thing I do want to get out there is microchip your pets and keep the registration updated. So that is another tidbit I want to just
That's
throw
another
out there.
That's another whole conversation for the next time.
Right.
And it was really great to see you, to hear from you, to hear your passion. I really hope that this conversation resonates with a lot of people and they really have a more understanding of what you do and your lack of sleep along along the way. But thank you very much for all you do.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. It's so nice to catch up, and I can't wait to see you again when you're out here.
We'll see you very soon. Everybody that's listening, this is Everybody Can Have One More Cat with Steven Meserve. We have Karen Jealous from PDX Cat Trapper, and we will see you next time. Karen, it was lovely to see you. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you so much, Steven. Okay.